Okay, this is a quick reply for conservative atheist. Sorry if I look like I just crawled out of bed. It's probably because I kind of did just crawl out of bed. So, I guess your biggest point in this video is that there are fewer women in a specific engineering class of 50, and you're right. It's a huge difference. As you say, it's like maybe 2 or 3 in a class of 50. But the problem is, this doesn't really represent female ability necessarily, because as long as we're seeing changing trends in female representation in engineering classes, there's very strong evidence that this is not biology, because biology does not change on a decade timescale. And when you can track differential performance in women in math, engineering, physics, and other areas which they've traditionally been underrepresented in, you see that there is not a performance gap necessarily. There may be, but until we see some evidence for it, I'm certainly not going to make the statement that there is. So I'm going to direct everyone to this New York Times article. And the New York Times article is actually just basically reporting on a report put out by the National Academies, which is about changing opportunities for women in science. I'm going to quote this really quick here, just so you have an idea of what I'm talking about. It says, U.S. girls have now reached parity with boys, even in high school and even for measures requiring complex problem solving. It goes on to say that, and this is talking about women's, and here we go. The Wisconsin researchers said, although girls are still underrepresented in the ranks of young math prodigies, they said, that gap is narrowing, which undermines claims that a greater prevalence of profound mathematical talent in males is biologically determined. The researchers said this and other phenomena provide abundant evidence for the impact of socio-cultural and other environmental factors of the development of mathematical skills and talent and the size, if any, of math gender gaps. As you can see by their last statement, they're not saying that there are not gender gaps, but until we stop seeing these changing trends in performance, we can't say that there are. And similarly, I mean, look back 100 years. You didn't see women's representation in biology the way you do now, and now there are more women graduating with biology degrees than men. So, I mean, does that snapshot of right now mean that maybe women are better at biology than men? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but I don't think that there's enough evidence to say. Similarly, you take a snapshot 100 years ago, does that mean 100 years ago women were terrible at biology, biologically, ironically enough? I don't think so. And so until we see some kind of convergence of these trends to a single level, there's no way you can be saying that, well, this particular sort of anecdotal kind of evidence where you say, oh, well, this single data point shows. Well, a single data point really doesn't show. So I think that's kind of a misunderstanding of the information here. In terms of your experiences of women in social situations, I'm not going to call into question your personal experiences, because I think it's kind of inappropriate how often people call into question other people's personal experiences. Those have not been my experiences of women in general. And again, this very likely has to do with the people I hang out with. I hang out with other college students, so if I'm hanging out with women, they're probably women who are choosing to educate themselves, women who are in college. And often, since as a science major, the classes I'm in are, higher math, computer programming courses, microbiology, and biochemistry. These are the women that I meet, and so I'm sure that there's some difference in terms of a self-selecting group where I'm meeting women who are more likely to be happy to choose things for themselves and happy to make decisions for themselves. So my main point, though, is I wanted to mention this article by the National Academies. This isn't just me saying that things are changing, women are smart. I mean, these are statistical trends, and they are being shown in this article. And I'm not going to go into all the reasons why it's a pretty convincing article. Instead, I'm going to link it for you. I'm going to link both the New York Times article, and I'm also going to link the actual study by the National Academies. And the article, or the report by the National Academies, is a 500-page article, but it has a nice sort of couple pages. It's a press release that was released along with it, which is, I don't know, at least it's an interesting summary without having to read 500 pages of what I assume is probably a lot of statistics. So anyway, you can look for that link in the annotations, I'm sure, sidebar. I'm going to try and put them in both. So yeah, anyway, that's pretty much what I have to say about the argument that underrepresentation shows biological difference.